Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. This video today has actually been 7 long months in the making, which is utterly ridiculous. When I started this back in August of 2023, I had no intention that it would go this long. I was thinking maybe 1 or 2 months, but alas, here we are. So back in August, I posted a video asking you guys to take part in a contest where you predicted my star rating on 10 different films, and whoever guessed the most accurately would win an Amazon gift card. Well, today, I'm finally through all 10 of those films. I want to give my thoughts on all 10 of those in very micro form, but I want to, most importantly, reveal who ended up winning and taking home the $25 Amazon gift card. And if you didn't know about this, well, that's on you, because I advertised this a bunch in different videos back then. I did a short about it, community post, so there's no reason that if you wanted to partake that you weren't able to. But let's do this. Here is the big ol' stack of movies that I'll be talking about today. My thought is maybe to go through these in do 60 seconds or less on each of them. Hopefully that's what we can do, because some of these I watched quite a long time ago, but I did take notes. So hopefully that'll help me as I talk through these. But anyway, we're going to go through these in the order I watched them. So let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into essentially what's going to be 10 random movie reviews. Plus at the end, I'm going to reveal who won a $25 Amazon gift card. I'll go through these in the order I watched them. So back on August 28th, 2023, I watched my Scream Factory pick, The Video Dead. This is on a double feature, but The Video Dead was the one I watched. That's from 1987, directed by Robert Scott. This one is essentially zombies come out of a TV. That's kind of the entirety of it. There's not a whole lot else going on here. What I really liked about this were the special effects. There's a moment in this where a body gets cut in half with a chainsaw and then rats start crawling out of it. It is utterly ridiculous, but it's pretty unique in that aspect. The cinematography also was really well done for a super low budget B horror film like this. That said, the story is completely nonsensical. It doesn't even really set anything up. The ending is absurd, which, who really cares? You're watching this for the special effects. But yeah, this is just an odd movie. I didn't love it. It's just kind of there. So I am going to give The Video Dead 2 out of 5 stars. The next day, on August 29th, I watched one from the Mill Creek movies that were sent over to me. This is The Bingo Long, Traveling All-Stars, and Motor Kings. And this is from 1976, directed by David Badham. I had zero expectations going into this. Frankly, I didn't think I would even enjoy it all that much, but this is actually a really fun movie. The cast on this thing is amazing. You have Ken Foree in here, along with Darth Vader and Lando Calrissian. That's just amazing. The cast on this is just incredible throughout the entire thing. I loved that. Really, this is kind of one of those typical sports films, but it still feels unique because of what it's covering, which is, it takes place in the 1930s, segregation obviously still being a thing. We have the Negro Baseball League, and Bingo Long is one of the stars of that league. So basically, they're trying to take over the league because it's run by these rich white dudes who are essentially mostly rich white dudes, who are essentially just using them in order to get richer and paying the baseball players very little. This is hilarious, but in that comedy, there are some serious race issues that are brought up here, and it's done in just a really well done way. I really enjoyed this one. So I thought this was much better than anticipated, and I would definitely recommend it for fans of sports movies. Highly recommend this one, in fact. So this is The Bingo Long, Traveling All-Stars, and Motor Kings. I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Going through these so quickly, I'm stumbling over my words, but I want to get through these reviews super fast. So next up, we have Rush Week, and I watched this one on September 2nd, so just a few days later, I was rocking through these, and then obviously I hit a wall at some point. But anyway, this one's from 1989, directed by Bob Bravler, I believe is his name. But we are following a journalism student who is researching because at this university she's at, people have started disappearing. What I first noticed about this, the first note I made, was about the music. It is by the Hamiltons, and it is excellent. It punches way above its weight class. Now, that said, some of the licensed music is a little bit silly in this, but it feels very 80s, so it's still a lot of fun to watch. Some of the characters, this is a very non-PC movie, which you kind of want, really, with something like this, because it's an 80s slasher film, and I enjoyed that a lot. So this is one that I was actually able to predict the ending, predict the killer, which is very unusual because I'm not normally able to do that. So that's kind of how predictable it was. If you're someone that can do that often, then you'll probably guess exactly where this one is going. The cinematography on this, again, better than it really should be. A lot of use of Steadicam in this to really keep things active, and I really appreciated that. That was really well done. There's not a lot of blood in this until you get to the end, then it kind of kicks up a little bit, but it's a 80s slasher film. There's nudity and there's fun. Like, that's exactly what you're gonna get here. So it's fine for what it is, but not my favorite slasher from this era. I'm gonna give Rush Week 3 out of 5 stars. I forgot to mention with Rush Week, but if you do love that movie, the transfer from Vinegar Syndrome looks phenomenal. So definitely recommend that release. But a couple weeks later, on the 12th of September, I ended up watching The Meg. This is a movie I have been meaning to watch for the longest time. This one is directed by John Turteltaub, I believe it is, from 2018. This is exactly what you expect it to be. This is a big, dumb shark movie, and I had a really good time with it. I don't watch a ton of Jason Statham, but right from the beginning, I remembered how much I liked him because he's super charismatic, and that really holds true with this one. So this is, again, it's just super over-the-top action sequences, which I love. A shocking amount of false finishes on this one as well, which was super weird, but it works. There is a romance at play here. It's dumb, but I was just rolling with it because I was having a good time with the movie. So this one, I definitely recommend. I need to check out the sequel now, which I still haven't seen yet. But yeah, The Meg, I'm going to give 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you like dumb, big action movies like this, there's no reason why you shouldn't check out The Meg. And then I went an entire month without watching one of these 10 movies. But for the month of October, I watched a ton of horror films last year, over 30. And one of them was on this set here. We have Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum, another film from 2018. And I will put the director's name up here. I forget it at this point. But yes, this was a found footage film, which was the main reason I wanted to watch this, because I love found footage. This one does take a little bit to get going, but at about the 30, I think there was about 30 minutes left in this when it really just took off, and I really had a good time with it. And so from that point on, I highly recommend this movie. If you don't like found footage though, I mean, this is very stereotypical found footage, so if you don't like that, you're not gonna like this one. But if you're like me and enjoy that genre, this is a really fun one. It's a bunch of ghost hunters that go to this haunted asylum that is now shut down, of course, and they are trying to figure out if it's actually haunted or not. So again, it's very stereotypical, but it is Korean, I believe, and so that just makes it feel a little bit different, which I liked. And again, just the last 30 minutes of this, really go for it. So I, again, enjoyed this one as well. So I'm going to give Gonjiam, or yeah, is that right? Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum. I'm going to give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Once the month of November hit and I was done with the horror movies, I decided to watch a family film, one that I have been looking forward to watching for a long time, the Super Mario Brothers movie. And this was the best movie I watched this entire challenge. I loved this. For what it is, it was perfect. Obviously, I'm someone who grew up with the Super Mario Brothers franchise. I've loved the games ever since the NES days. And this really felt like, if you were someone who played these a long time, you could really just appreciate the little Easter eggs that they hid throughout this entire film. The voice acting on this was phenomenal. The visuals looked incredible. This 4K, stunning to watch. This was just the perfect family film. Cannot recommend this one enough. If you haven't seen it and you're interested, well, there is the digital code. Hopefully that is working for you guys. So hopefully someone that hasn't seen this yet can enjoy it, because this movie was excellent. It's a Super Mario Brothers origin story, but it's done in just the perfect way. I ended up giving the Super Mario Brothers movie from 2023 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this film. The next day, on November 3rd, I put on a movie that I heard nothing positive about. We have M. Night Shyamalan's After Earth from 2013. This is one that I remember wanting to borrow when I worked at Family Video because it was new at that point, but I just never watched it. And I'm a huge M. Night Shyamalan fan. So because I'm such a huge fan, maybe I forgave some of this film's shortcomings a little more than others would, but this is a perfectly good film. I don't know why this gets such a bad word of mouth. Again, this is a big, a high budget, CGI filled action movie with sci-fi elements. I love the idea with this, which is these two people returning to Earth to figure out what's going on. And I just love how that whole thing was played up. I always hear that Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith, is just a terrible actor, but honestly, I thought he did a great job for what he was asked to do here. Will Smith is said in this one that he just didn't try at all, but really that's the point of his character, is to hide those emotions. And so I feel like people saying that just miss the point of the movie entirely. So this was a movie I absolutely enjoyed, and frankly, I would recommend. Clearly, I am in the minority though, but I love big dumb sci-fi, and this was exactly that. The special effects on this I thought looked great. The bird moment, which if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The bird moment is absolutely ridiculous, but I was going with it because, again, if you're enjoying what you're watching, you're more willing to just roll with the kind of absurd things that are happening. Whereas if you're not, you're going to look at that and just hate it. So it just depends on what your thoughts are on the film overall. But I enjoyed this one a heck of a lot more than I thought I would. So I'm giving M. Night Shyamalan's After Earth from 2013 3.5 out of 5 stars. So about 2 weeks later, on November 18th, I ended up putting on a Hitchcock classic from 1946, Notorious. I'll mention this Blu-ray does contain Rebecca and Spellbound as well. I've not seen those yet, but I have watched Notorious, of course. And this is a great movie. With Notorious, we are following Ingrid Bergman, who plays this spy. She's sent overseas to try to convince this person to marry her in order to gain secrets. Well, we also have Cary Grant in here, kind of playing her boss, essentially. And those two together are wonderful. They just dominate the screen whenever they're on it. And I loved that. I didn't realize it while I was watching either, but Claude Rains plays Alex in this film as well, one of the supporting characters. And he's the Wolfman. And the Wolfman is like my favorite of the Universal monster films because of Claude Rains. He is a phenomenal actor, and those three together are just as good as you could ask for. Really, the only problem I had with this was the fact that the entire film hinges on the relationship between Ingrid Bergman's character and Cary Grant's character, and Hitchcock decides to streamline that in almost a laughable way, like to the point where I didn't even really understand how they got together, but again, I was just going with it because it was just such a great film. I think of all of the Hitchcock's films I've seen so far, the cinematography on this could arguably be the most interesting. I loved it. This was such a good movie. Again, the only problem was just how ridiculous the relationship was when that's really your whole setup and kind of the driving force behind the film. Maybe spend a few more minutes setting that up, but who am I to say? Hitchcock's a master. So, great film. I am going to give Notorious from 1946 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I did hit another wall, and I didn't watch another of these 10 until after Christmas of last year. So on December 28th, I watched The Last Starfighter from 1984, directed by Nick Castle. And yes, that Nick Castle, which I totally forgot going into this, but I think that's so cool. So this is one that I was genuinely shocked that it came out after or before Back to the Future and Ender's Game, because it really felt like it was just taking those and making a different style movie out of it. But no, that's not the case. But it is obvious that Star Wars was definitely an inspiration to this one. But what's really cool about this is just the whole aesthetic. I loved that. The 4K looked amazing. I love that they're in this trailer park and this is where our hero is going to stem from. It's just a cool idea for a story. Unfortunately, it never really gets over that hump of being just a good movie. That's not really to knock it too much. It is a good film, but I think if it just did a little bit more, maybe the climax was a little bit more difficult for our main character to achieve, right? Like something along those lines. This really could have taken it to the next level, and unfortunately it just doesn't go there. But that said, I still really enjoyed it, and I think it's definitely worth, the time, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. I'm happy now I can say I finally watched this one because it is a bit of an 80s cult classic. So, Last Starfighter, it's a good movie, it's just not great. So, I'm gonna give this one from 1984 3.5 out of 5 stars. And that brings us to film number 10, the last one here, and I didn't watch this one until just a few days ago. March 17th is when I finally decided to put this one on. And I think it's just because I had such high expectations. This is it's just one of those like foundational films, right, that everyone needs to see. 2001, A Space Odyssey. Unfortunately, this 1968 classic from Stanley Kubrick left me feeling in a similar way that I felt after I read the book. It's good, I respect it, but I just didn't love this one. There are some shots in this that are absolutely incredible. The sense of scope that Kubrick is able to manage with this is truly astonishing. The risks that he takes, there are like 25 minutes go by before the first actual line of dialogue is spoken. There's 3 minutes in the beginning of the movie that is black screen, and there's music playing, and that's it. It happens again at the intermission. The risks he takes are insane. The final act of this, it's just this visual spectacle, which honestly, it felt a little self-indulgent to me, which I know is going to upset some people, but I didn't love this one. This is a movie that I respected more than I enjoyed. That said, I may watch this again and change my opinion, but really, I've read the book now and I've watched the movie, and both of them ended up being 3 out of 5 stars, which is what I'll give 2001: A Space Odyssey. I just don't know that there's anything more here that can really elevate it. I respect what it did. Kubrick is a master, but for me, this is the worst of the Kubrick films I've watched, which still, giving it 3 out of 5 stars, that's saying something. There is the digital code. I will mention the 4K on this absolutely lived up to the hype. It is insanely good looking. I loved the transfer on this. So, unfortunately, I didn't love it, but I'm glad I finally watched it. I'm going to give 2001: A Space Odyssey 3 out of 5 stars. All right, so now let's talk about the reason why most of you are here, and that's to figure out who won the $25 Amazon gift card. So there were, I believe it was 17 entries into this contest. So if you were one of them, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate that support. But with that said, of the 17 entries, there were 2 people who accurately predicted 4 of my scores correctly, and that was the best. I will mention that I also did a prediction as I was doing my original video, and I got 5 entries correct. So, there's that at least, or not entries, but 5 star ratings correct. So that was fun. But of course, I'm not a part of the contest. So of the 2 people that got 4 correct, I had to go to the tiebreaker, and that was the person that was closest to my average star rating. So of the 10 films, my average star rating ended up being 3.45 out of 10. And so there was one winner that accurately predicted 4 and was closest to my average. I'm pulling it up here. They were only 0.15 off from my average. So they predicted, their average prediction was 3.3. And that person is R1133, I believe is their username. Ronnie is the winner of the contest. So at this point, Ronnie has already been contacted and they have been given their Amazon gift card. So congratulations, Ronnie. Thank you again for being a part of this. And hopefully this is something we can do again in the future. Next time, hopefully it doesn't take 7 months to get through. I'm thinking maybe just do 5 movies the next time through. That way I can power through them a little bit quicker. But with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Those were my thoughts on these 10 films. incredibly quick reviews, but hopefully I gave you just an example, or a good idea rather, of why I gave the star ratings that I did. But let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the films that you've seen from this pile? What am I being much too harsh on? What am I grading too leniently? Let me know what you think about my star ratings, and tell me if you would be interested in joining a contest like this again in the future. No cost to enter, and you have a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card. I mean, really, what's to lose? But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. That said, before you guys take off, if you could hit that like button down below, that engagement really does help me out. And like I always say, guys, I don't just talk movies, I talk all things media. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. Before you go, I just want to encourage you all to consume some media today. I'll catch you next time.